Hey everybody, Questwise here, and today we're going to be talking about Palladium books, right? We want to talk about some rifts. We're going to talk about some cool new series that we've got going here on the Questwise channel. It's going to be known as the Rifts Explorers Guide series. We're going to be doing is talking about the Rifts and Chaos Earth games and how certain places on Earth fell to those things, how they were before the apocalypse, what happened to them during the apocalypse, and how they turned out afterward, if they survived at all, into the Rifts universe. Let's dive right in. I'm going to make this a quick overview of what I want to do. Basically, I want to start in North America. I'm going to start in the Great Lakes because that's where I'm from. And I'm going to branch out from there into things like Chicago, or Chi-Town as it's known in Rifts. We're going to talk about Washington, D.C. We're going to talk about San Francisco. We're going to talk about a bunch of other cool places. And then we're going to branch out into the world. We're going to talk about London and Moscow and Egypt. And we're just going to go crazy with this series. But what I want to do is sort of talk about the apocalypse of Rifts, the game itself, right? And how things sort of, people and places and personalities and stuff of things that, and how they were affected by the fallout of Rifts itself. First, we're going to talk about Michigan. We're going to talk about Detroit, kind of focused on Detroit, which, if you don't know, is the home base of the Palladium Books headquarters worldwide, is in Detroit, Michigan. Early on in history, in the 1900s, Detroit became the hub of the industrial automotive industry, right? With Henry Ford creating the production line, and how he could crank out cars so fast and efficiently. And then during World War II, the auto industry there in Detroit sort of ceased, and it began to produce things like engines for bomber airplanes and tanks and pieces and parts for aircraft carriers, and it went into full wartime production. After the war, it resumed its automotive thing, but eventually, with the advent of making parts and pieces overseas became cheaper, the auto industry sort of left Detroit for the most part, and all those workers went with it, and Detroit fell to its knees. Detroit sort of ceased to be the industrial hub and became a very bad place to be for a very long period of time. Currently now in 2018, Detroit is starting to get back up from its kneeling position. Lots of businesses and people have moved to the area, and I was just there in April, actually for the Palladium Open House, and got to drive around and see the revitalization projects. It's really starting to pick itself back up. Now we go into the fiction, right? In December 22nd, let me find out the date here. December 22nd, 2098 is when the destruction came, right? The entire eastern seaboard disappeared in massive earthquakes and hurricanes, and a giant volcano, a super volcano, goes off in the west. Ley lines erupt from the ground. These magical walls of blue energy burst, hundreds of feet into the air and destroy everything in their path. Millions die in a blink of an eye, and the rest of the world falls into panic. And within a few days, all communication with everything is cut off from the rest of the world. In Michigan itself, a lot of the devastation fell through massive earthquakes and ley lines ripping through the area. To the northern part of Michigan and southern Canada, giant snowstorms fell and just covered everything and everybody under feet and feet of heavy, wet snow. And NEMA, the corporation that we know of from Chaos Earth, a national military sort of organization that's there to try to help, tries to step up. They try to step in, and they try to help out as best they can. But this is a catastrophe that's beyond the scope of anything that they're able to sort of hold and control. Within a few days, it's rumored that the president has gone missing. He's presumably died in at NORAD in this massive explosion of this super volcano that's gone off, and the leadership of the entire structure begins to falter. Within a few days, where these ley lines intersect, giant rifts erupt, and other dimensions begin to spill onto Earth itself, Michigan is just racked with crazy demons and dimensional beings, DBs, and mass suicides, and it just chaos ruled. We know that there's a dark period between dark ages, presumably between the happenings, the apocalyptic beginnings of Chaos Earth and in Rifts itself, and we know that there's some technology that actually survives that dark ages period. We know the Chromium Guardsmen, which later become known as Glitter Boys and Rifts, that survived, as well as a lot of the other technology as well too. What's interesting is that there's a period of time there that nobody really knows much about. And it's interesting to play games in those sort of periods. I love to set games that happen during the apocalypse of Chaos Earth and kind of bleed into that Dark Ages area, because there's a lot of open things to do there, a lot of fun things to role play out and character build as well too. The great thing about Chaos Earth is playing characters that are there on the front lines. You're talking about, at the time of Chaos Earth, normal people. The year 2098, we're talking about like military professionals, or we're talking about first responders. We're talking about just average everyday citizens. I love taking the normal person OCC from Beyond the Supernatural and using it in Chaos Earth, because then you're playing people like teachers and doctors and construction workers who are all now having to deal with this calamity of chaos and apocalyptic fallout that's happening. And it creates some very high tension games and some very, very narratively driven scenarios and storytelling, as it were. We know that the NEMA Corporation itself slowly, eventually becomes the Coalition, right? And that's the genius behind Palladium Books, is that this Coalition. If you haven't seen my video before on villains, it's every villain. Please go watch it. But it's every villain needs a motivation, and the Emperor Prozac has motivations in spades. He, his determination for saving humanity is so strong, but a tainted version of that, right? He feels that in order to save humanity, all these DBs, all this magic, all these supernatural beings have to be eradicated. Not just pushed back, but eradicated, like ended. And we're talking about mass murder type of situations and stuff. So it's interesting to play against a villain, or on the side of the Coalition, if you want to play as Coalition soldiers, and how you view this sort of outlook on life, right? And whether you agree with the Emperor or whether you're opposed to him, and how you see the saving humanity, as it were. But that makes a great game as well too, and that sort of Chaos Earth into Rifts itself, and bringing it into sort of a Michigan location, a Great Lakes location, whether it be in Detroit or whether it be in Chicago or Chi-Town on the other side of Lake Michigan. Some great stories to tell. What I'd like to do with this series is, like I said, every week or every other week, we're going to be diving into further and further more locations and personalities, and take a deeper look at the world as it were, and the world as it is now known in the Rifts that currently in the series. What I'd like you to do is, I want to make this a contest. I want to see how many times we can share this video, how many times we can get it out to other people. Share it with your friends. If they're fans already of Chaos Earth and Rifts, maybe this will help them add some more fun to their games, add some more structure to their adventures and stuff. Or share it with your friends who have never seen it before. Maybe garner a little bit of interest in them. One of the cool things I'd like to see is that Christmas season is coming up. Whether you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is you celebrate during the holiday season, to share a copy of Chaos Earth with somebody. If they don't already have it, I am imploring you to go and buy a copy from Palladium Books and gift it to somebody. Right? It's a very minimal kind of thing, or any of the Palladium Books games. If you're a fan of Palladium Books, gift a copy of one of the games to them. Better yet, get send them a gift of a Christmas gift box as well too, right? Holiday gift box, and let's jumpstart the hobby in these people. If you're a fan of Palladium Books, it's up to us to sort of carry on the to grow the hobby and to share the games with other people. So let's share this video, and I'm going to throw some stuff in as we go. Next week I'll have some stuff I'll probably do a giveaway for, and we'll talk about the specifics and stuff about it then. Bundle of Holding, the horror bundle of holding. If you love things like Dead Rain or Beyond the Supernatural, which are some of my favorites, I'll put the link down below. Time is growing very, very short to get in on a bundle of holding, which is an amazing deal for your money that you're putting into it. So please check out the link down below for that as well too. But the beginning of the Rifts Explorers Guide series is happening now. And I'm Questwise. Until next time, I'm out.